I would like to invite again Witold and Magdalena for the uh, rest of it. I think you have a beautiful thought there. You are talking about uh, how future parents are future educators and how they can implement practices the right way and get children into self-directed learning. Of course, we know like if the children start learning on their own, half the battle is won. So please go ahead, Magdalena, with this.
Yes, before we move on to these and continue the thoughts, I would like to touch a little bit upon what has been said already about the social interaction and about the requirements of the curriculum, perhaps. So on a global scale, different countries will have different requirements when it comes to homeschooling. When you withdraw your child from school, or where you do not enroll a child to school and opt for homeschooling, you will need to make sure you are adhering to this national policy and requirements. And these will be different from country to country. So from our experience and working with the homeschooling families around the globe, in some countries there are stricter requirements, and children need to sit for exams, and this is when you need to accommodate this in your overall plan for homeschooling. Some countries are more flexible and they do not require any kind of testing, so you may be asked to send occasional timely reports or samples of your children's homeschooling journeys. So there will be different things, but one thing for sure that parents need to be able to do is evaluate, not necessarily assess in terms of traditional grades or scoring, but evaluate the learning that is happening. And sometimes it means for the sake of the government, for the sake of the reporting, and sometimes, and primarily for the sake of your own child. So me and my husband, we are both assessors. So we always make sure that when we counsel parents, we share with them the strategies that they need to learn to be able to easily see the value of all learning experiences that the children participate in, and that eventually, whether you are required to file your report to your national government or your local council, you will be able to know what to put in the report to demonstrate your child's learning, how this learning cross references with your national curriculum or things like that. This may be some challenges that parents face around the globe, but once you learn how you train your eye to see the value of learning experiences in everything that happens, then you kind of the learning happens automatically and everything is put on autopilot. So let me share one example with you again, how this happens. If you think about the unstructured learning, sometimes parents means that they think that they need to pre-structure learning because there will be some reporting involved later on, and for the sake of the reporting there needs to be some worksheets or handouts. So this can be done easily via active learning. If you think about these examples, and if you look at these examples, how all areas of child development are taken care of through active learning. So encounters with animals, playing games. So this is about communication, about language development, about teamwork, developing personal, social, emotional connection with the world, understanding of the world, understanding, in this example with a tire, you can see two boys trying to either sink it or take it out of the water. So there is lots of science involved. There is lots of universal principles of gravity, all kinds of things involved in this particular experience. Yes, these are that we call the teachable moments, where parents can take it further and they can engage in active discussions. Yes, what have you discovered? Why do you think the tire didn't sink? Or what do you need to do for the tire to sink or take it out of the water? And this can be cross-referenced beautifully with your curriculum. Yes. Then when we talk about literacy, numeracy, early maths, so there is lots of things that happen every day, and these are those moments that can be captured, that parents can see and
And I think it's also important to say that these moments, as Magdalena is talking about, these moments, they happen naturally, they occur naturally every day, every second, every minute throughout your daily life. And that's why we called it unstructured. Here, unstructured, we can also call it self-directed learning. It's very similar, unstructured, self-directed. And these learning experiences and contexts, they can happen naturally, but also we as parents, educators, we can enable them, these learning experiences. We can enable them for the children in a way that we facilitate these learning experiences for them, but it is them who participate and take them further. And this is how they direct these learning experiences by themselves. That's why we call it self-directed learning, or unstructured learning, or child-led learning. That's another word. Children are the leaders of their learning experiences. And also, the best scenario for us is that children are also the authors of, the creators of their learning experiences.
And how to enable this in a easily and put it on an autopilot without the need to think about, okay, what I'm going to do today with my child. So the best way to do it is through play and learning corners or stations that you can have around the house or around the garden, everywhere. Yes. So it works not only for the early years, but for all the children as well. And these stations can be created with your children together as a family project. So they are available all the time. And you know, ideally you will have at least 3 of such stations, where it can be a creative corner station, it can be a construction corner. As you can see, this little here is our son. He's dismantling a CD player. Yes, so this was an ongoing project that it took him around 2 weeks. Yes, and he was very into it. So this is one of his example of learning station. Another one is, you know, a simple carpet with some blocks and cars and things like that, so that it can serve as a construction corner. In the garden, you have some wooden planks, maybe some bricks, some you know, natural resources, and where children can learn about all kinds of things and interact and create and construct and build and collaborate. Then this little table that you can see, this is our son's room when he was, I think, 4. Now he's 14. But he had this table and he could put all kinds of resources inside and experiment with them on a daily basis. Yes, it was one of the stations. As you can see, we put mat on the floor so that the area is protected. He can spill, he can, you know, then it's easy to clean it. And all kinds of different loose parts can be put on into the table. That you can have water, you can have Play-Doh, you can have all kinds of things, and this becomes these, you know, the creativity station. Everyday objects such as, you know, kitchen things. Yes, the children learn. This is about early maths, about understanding value, capacity, you know, comparing, contrasting, weighing. This is a beautiful way to introduce early maths. Then we have a reading corner. And finally, we have, you know, the physical, a place where children can express themselves physically.
So I think we can easily say that this kind of approach, play and learning corners, it works always with all ages and stages of development, anywhere, and also it works with any number of children actually. This approach has been used in formal preschool education and early childhood education as well.
Yes.
For many years, it's called just play and learning stations.
And this is what we teach in our courses for parents, our online learning courses for parents, where we show parents how to prepare certain learning stations for children, how to enable your environment at home and in the garden, so that you can have certain things, a framework that is taking care of itself. So you don't need to think about another arts and crafts project for today. In the meantime, obviously, if you need and want, you can have your dedicated math sessions or you know, literacy if you really need. But from our perspective, our son is 14 and we have never ever had any structured session with him in his entire life. He has never received any lesson when it comes to literacy or reading, how to read and write. He has taught himself how to read and write in 2 languages. Can you imagine? And the only thing we did was enable the environments through, through
this
these.
is what we've been doing actually for the past 14 years, enabling safe learning environments and context for him, so that now he is ready to enable and find these contexts for himself. And actually this is when self-directed learning journey begins, because now he's ready to do it, what we've been doing for him for years. So
Yes.
now he's a self-directed learner.
He creates such corners on his own.
Tell me, you have been to many countries, like you have been to Malaysia and Thailand probably. So is there a way where you can exchange the material that you have got for your son? Like parents say in India, they can change the material that you have, because that would be different in different countries. So the same concept, how would it go?
Yeah, the concept, it's just a concept, but the materials, the resources, well, this is actually one of the things that we teach in our Home Education Accelerator program, where we show how to use the materials and resources which are locally available.
Everyday objects.
Everyday objects, nothing to, actually you don't have to buy anything, you just look around and you adopt and adjust whatever you have available at hand to the concept and the methods, like this one, for example, that we promote and advocate.
Here you can see kitchen utensils are used, spatulas, simple things that you can find in the kitchen, so children can experiment. If you have some old, things like that you don't use, just give it to the children. And if you have an outdoor space or even balcony, let them play with these and let them experiment outdoors, so that they can be proud that they can use authentic everyday objects and they can learn with them. Here is an old CD player that was, broken, and he wanted to just dismantle it as he was inside. But you can use, cardboard boxes to have a construction corner. Children can build with fabrics. Everyday things, anything that you can find. And this is what we share in our courses.
As you said, definitely it's not about what you have, but it's about whether you are able to create, safe environments, learning environments that bring learning outcomes for your children.
Yes.
And whatever you have, it's always fine.
And another important thing to emphasize here, we have 2 children and both of them have experience with homeschooling. Our son has been homeschooled his whole life, he's 14, and Vera's daughter, she's 21. And she started formal education, and then after, I think when she was 10 or 12, she started traveling with us for a few years, and this is when we had her on homeschooling. But she wanted to get back to the system because that was her choice. And she, while being and experiencing and learning in the way that we share with you, she was preparing for exams in her dedicated sessions, yes? But this maybe was taking her 1 or 2 hours a day, and that's it. And she passed the exams in I think it was in Malaga in Spain, where we were actually there at that time in an international school. So she enrolled for the exam and she passed the exam, and now she is finishing her final year at the university. But for our son, we can say for sure that he's not interested in this path. His interest is more into entrepreneurship, journey. So he's not interested in taking exams for now or pursuing this path. But if he wanted, we would obviously be able to facilitate this kind of journey for him. It would require simply getting him ready for the exams, preparing for the exams. But the entire learning journey stays intact for him anyway. The life skills that were mentioned,
the self-directed kind of learning.
The values that were mentioned here, yes, the values that you have your values, but you allow your child to discover the values themselves, yes, by observing the world. And this is where this child-centered observation is very important, unbiased ideally, yes, because so that we make sure that we do not necessarily impose the values on our children blindly, but they have a chance to understand our values, other people's values. And I like the examples that you...
and also eventually choose their values and beliefs.
Yes, so without us imposing the values or you know, educational system imposing the values or the community. So then we create this journey where an individual is responsible for their own values and can make the sense, you know, what kind of person I want to be, yes? And I like the example that Vinit shared, that, you know, in the restaurant, yes, you observe the situation and what do you make of it, yes? It's easily to judge. I may judge, but I would like my son to be able at least to have a chance to see the situation objectively before going into any judgment, yes? So to wrap it up for you, so this is what our journey has been, and this is what we are sharing with you, and this is and as a gift to you today, we would like to offer you the free training modules from our course, our Home Education Training Accelerator, that you can try out for yourself, and you will have access to, more materials.
So let me just share this link to the free module in the chat room right now. So you can just click, and you just have to click on the free module button to sign up, and you will get access to the free video sessions we ourselves created, and
the learning materials you have seen today are similar to what we share with you. So
that's great. That's great. That's really wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So we do come to an end of this scintillating discussion on